重要なこと？
いや、その。
ちょっと問題ないでしょ。
隣で裸の女がシャワーを浴びて。
Previously, he was an absolute loser that was painful to look at until one fateful day arrived. A girl talked to him. She ended up being a bad girl, causing him to unleash his true power that he had kept hidden his whole life. Upon doing so, he attracted many people wanting to take his power for themselves, until he became a mailman at UPS, thus granting him protection. After getting kidnapped multiple times for being so weak, Chulan decides to follow Huhu around to hopefully get stronger. To his surprise, however, instead of a dumpy place like he was expecting, she presents him with a nice house. She informs him that for the next month they will be training here, making Chulan excited. He tells her that even though the others were a bit stronger than him, he doesn't need to train every day. This makes her remind him of the contest coming up, informing him that he has a chance to become the Tensei. The Tesnai is one of the highest positions an outsider like Chulan could hold. On top of this, his grandfather was once a Tensei, allowing him to learn more about him if he wins. He then goes inside to check out the house, only to find it decorated blandly. He complains about this, but Huhu stops him by throwing him into the house. She then grabs his shoulders and tells him not to move, allowing her to get close to him. He thinks this is his lucky day, but in reality, Huhu has no sexual thoughts towards Chunal. Instead, she transfers some sort of power that makes Chulan fall to the group to cry like a baby. With him recently being introduced to this new lifestyle, he is confused by this power flowing through him. He reveals this power as Kai, the foundation for all of the powers in this world. As he harnesses his ki, Huhu throws some water at him, asking him to get up already. She tells him that when she got close to him, she transferred her ability to him. She asks him to try and use it, knowing it's about as strong as any of his other attacks. He then follows suit, harnessing the ki within him only to find Huhu stripping down before him. This excites him again, so he asks her to cover up around him, but she has no such thoughts. She asks him why it matters if she covers up or not, showing Chunal she has no impure thoughts around him. Chunal, on the other hand, is unable to resist his urges, so he meditates while thinking about what she looks like within the shower. Eventually, after some fake training, he peeks over at her, hoping she is still naked, but he has no such luck. Instead, she is dressed up, and instead of her usual emo get-up, she looks normal. This causes Chunal to get a boner, enraging Huhu. She slaps him across the face, telling him to focus, but he tells her he can't control himself. This angers her even more, so she gets dressed and slaps him around again. She tells him that because he has no experience around girls, his ki gets messed up when he tries to harness it. Because of this, she decides to hire some prostitutes, offering to take Chunal's virginity away. He refuses her request, telling Huhu the girls before him are mad ugly. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. Would you rather have godlike martial arts skills or infinite magical capabilities? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now back to the recap. They don't care, however, so they make advances on Chunal, forcing him to raise his voice. This scares the two girls off, telling Huhu they still expect payment for coming. Once Huhu sees this, she asks him why he refused to break his seal, but he has other plans. He tells her that he is heading back to his dorm, wanting to lose his V-card on his own terms. He explains that he has followed her master-servant game for long enough. He expresses his feelings of discomfort around her, telling her he wants his normal life back. After Huhu hears this, she whips out her sword to threaten him, but he continues, showing he would rather die than be by the emo girl's side. As he leaves, it seems like Huhu relies on him more and more, screaming out for him not to leave her. This only makes him realize how crazy she is, so he continues on his path, leaving Huhu for good this time. On the walk home, Huhu wishes he had got an Uber, but suddenly Fu, the hot white-haired girl, emerges. She tells Chunal that she still welcomes him into her clan, asking him to get in the car. Chunal thinks about it, and upon seeing her massive rack, he decides to follow suit. Once arriving at their building, he learns that her group isn't just some random clan. With a skyscraper soaring atop other buildings, this clan is one of the strongest among outsiders. They then go to meet with Fu's father, where Chunal introduces himself as a strong outsider. He is then guided to meet with Ja, a high-ranked outsider from overseas. He tells Chunal that he will soon be working alongside him, asking them to get acquainted. He then informs Chunal that he wants him to join, recognizing the potential he holds. Chunal seems hesitant, so he moves on to asking if he has any interest in his daughter. Chunal can't believe this, thinking that he will always be a worthless virgin, but the man behind him seems confident. As he leaves, he walks with Fu, taking the chance away from Chunal. Meanwhile, the members of the company talk amongst each other, wondering how they can retrieve Chunal. With him joining the Tengakai, one of the strongest outsider groups, it's hard for even the company to move. With no other options, Huhu decides that she will apologize to Chunal to hopefully gain him back. See, Chunal may look like some dumb emo girl on the outside, but when she tries, she becomes an absolute baddie. The company manager, Yon, shows this by dressing her up in an original school uniform. This makes the other manager Joe mad, so he chances up what she is wearing, putting her into a secretary's outfit. While this happens, Kenken, the only girl who showed Chunal any interest, emerges. She tells the others that the company approved of her working part-time so she can be around them more. She then tells the older guy to let her dress up Huhu, knowing as a girl her age she knows what's good. While this occurs, Chunal is seen meeting with the head of the Tengakai. He is still trying to persuade Chunal to join, but he knows his worth now. Chunal acts like a boss to him, telling him his every demand. The president then informs him that he can have anything in his desires, even his hot daughter. He then explains that on top of that, his grandfather was well acquainted with him. Huhu, on the other hand, gets dressed up into a spring dress with some high heels by Kenken, hoping to bring out her full beauty. With everyone approving, they send her on her way to the Tengakai HQ to hopefully retrieve Chunal. Upon learning that he has time to decide whether he joins the clan or not, he decides to meditate in his own room. Here he notices how strong Huhu's ability really is to be able to stand against the likes of him. Following this, Fu enters the room and presents a woman named Nana to help him relax. This time, with her not being some fat ugly girl, he is happy with this advancement. Meanwhile, Huhu is seen wandering into the Tengakai building asking for Chunal to see her. Once the clerk hears that Huhu is here to meet with Chunal, she tries to steer her off. Huhu doesn't give up easily, however, demanding that she meet with Chunal. She responds by ordering the security guards to throw her out, showing she has no intentions of giving up Chunal. After this happens, Huhu strikes back, using her ki to restrain the security guards. Once this happens, the building erupts, hoping to use all their forces to take down Huhu. Meanwhile, Chunal is enjoying a massage from the lady, becoming fully relaxed. While he is moaning from the massage, Fu is seen complaining about having to date Chunal. She tells her father that he is some lowly scumbag that isn't worthy of her figure. Her father doesn't care about her request, however, demanding Fu do whatever Chunal asks of her. He tells her that he has treated her special her whole life, and now is the time to help her family. He finishes by asking her to do her part as a member of the family and marry a bastard like Chunal. After hearing all of this, she has no choice but to comply, bringing us back to the present. She tells the massage lady to leave in hopes of giving her some time to rizz up Chunal. Firstly, she asks him about the family, hoping that everything is up to his standards. Chunal shares that he feels bad about leaving Huhu, telling her he was close to her. Fu, on the other hand, sees her as a crazy emo girl, so she asks what he gains by siding with her. He explains that although she is a bit strange, she has the power to help and defend her. He expresses that he never knows what she is thinking, but this very reason makes her all the more fun to be around. He simply wishes that she would tell him how she feels more, not knowing whether she truly cares about him. He continues to fumble the bag, telling Fu everything that he likes about Huhu. While this happens, Huhu is seen asking various people where Chunal is, until someone stronger arrives. With 4 elite members of the Tengakai clan emerging, Huhu realizes she has to step up her game. Instead of fighting, she asks them for help finding Chunal, but the Tengakai elite knocks her back. He recognizes her strength, so he whips out a gun, but it doesn't work. She overpowers all of the members with ease, revealing she means business. With all of these grunts getting taken out, the final member of the 4 stands idly. He talks to himself about how weak the others are, wishing that he didn't have to surround himself with such people. Fu, on the other hand, is seen talking with Chunal about the potential for him dating her. She tells him that if he decides to join her clan, then she will commit everything to him. This doesn't entice Chunal, however, so he tells her he isn't too happy about it, making her question him about his seal. Placed upon his nuts is a seal that blocks him from doing anything with any women unless they truly love him. Fu tries to show her interest in Chunal by stripping down to hopefully break this seal. As she gets on top of him, he starts to realize this is really happening. He tries to get active, but after hearing Fu tell him she is doing this for the good of her family, he is hesitant. He thinks about the situation and reassures himself he needs to take control of this situation to become a man. He tells Fu to let him indulge in her greatness, but this enrages her. She smacks him across the face and informs her father it's too hard to be with a man like Chunal. As this happens, Chunal tries to run away, but he is stopped, showing the Tengakai clan doesn't plan on letting him just walk out. Fu tells him that if he won't stay, then she will have to resort to violence. She then hits him a couple times with an invisible attack, making him question what's going on. He tries to mediate the situation, but Fu is still angry at Chunal trying to make a move on her. As more and more attacks come, Chunal eventually gets a hold of her attacks and makes a counter-attack himself. To his surprise, however, Fu dodges every attack, forcing him to tap into a stronger power. With this power, he rushes her and strikes, but as if she was playing him the entire time, she easily evades it. She reveals that he will never be able to defeat her because of her ability, teleportation. Meanwhile, the boss of the Tengakai learns of Huhu's emergence, but brushes it off as a simple manner. He tells the grunt to deal with them, but little does he know Huhu has already defeated all of them. She asks the last of the 4 executives for Chunal's location, but he refuses to help her. This makes him wonder who this girl is to be able to overpower all of them while hiding her true strength. Upon learning the executives weren't enough, he decides to head out himself, leaving Jar to wait for him to clear up the situation. After Jar learns of this, he offers to take care of the issue himself, claiming to be a new member of the clan. Chulan, on the other hand, is still fighting with Fu until he eventually gets overpowered yet again. With him falling to the ground yet again, he considers revealing his ultimate power to Fu. Before he does, he senses Huhu's presence, so he starts laughing, telling Fu it's over for her. Huhu, on the other hand, continues searching the building until she is faced off against Jar. He tells Huhu she should stop now while ahead, but she doesn't falter. Little does he know Huhu has surpassed the normal limits that one can reach. Despite this strength, Jar is no joke either, pushing back even the likes of Huhu. As the battle continues, however, the stronger of the two starts to reveal, with Jar inflicting a vital strike on her. The executives watch from the sidelines, wondering who this man before them is. Meanwhile, Huhu wonders how she experienced so much damage despite blocking his incoming attack. She concludes that his Kai must have some ability to inflict a larger radius of damage than just his fists. With Huhu getting attacked multiple times, her head starts to hurt, so she asks for a timeout. While this happens, Jar wonders how someone like her can even take all of these attacks, revealing he has been giving it his all. As he thinks, Huhu starts moving around differently, forcing Jar to bring out his ultimate weapon. With him wielding a couple of daggers and a sword, he is able to constantly attack Huhu, giving her no opening to attack back. Despite these attacks, Huhu is able to dodge all of them, showing neither side plans on backing down. Jar's technique is something that can only be learned by people who practice controlling foreign objects their whole life. As the battle goes on, eventually, Jar gets a hold of Huhu and plans to finish her off, but the unexpected happens. She relocated her shoulder to break free, thus leaving Jar without words. He wonders what else Huhu is hiding, knowing that there must be more to her power. Once he says this, Huhu decides to take her heels off, revealing she has been fighting with a handicap the whole time. Chulan, on the flip side, is seen still getting beat up by Fu, making no progress in the battle. He eventually gets hit one too many times, so he decides to bark back at Fu, telling her he plans on taking it seriously now. With this statement, Fu's incoming invisible attack gets blocked without Chulan having to even move a muscle. She decides to send in a bunch of attacks to test the waters, but it's as she expected. Chulan is covering himself in a protective ki layer. With this defense, he is able to block every single one of Fu's incoming attacks without having to lift a finger. He claims his victory and tells Fu that he would like to meet with her again, next time on more friendly terms. As he leaves, Fu wishes him luck, asking what technique he used before he leaves. He explains it as Little White Bug, a technique he created himself by adjusting his Raihu. Raihu is Chulan's strongest attack, having inherited it from his late grandfather as one of the strongest attacks. With this he leaves, telling Fu he wishes her the best despite all this fighting. This makes her realize that Chulan has been playing with her the entire time, making her think he isn't as bad as she thought. Chulan then informs her that he doesn't care about powers or wealth, simply wanting a girl who truly cares about him. Still looking for Chulan is Huhu, who is amidst her battle with the foreigner Jar. He gets beat around until the leader of the clan eventually emerges to see what's going on. This makes Jar feel pressured to end the battle quickly, still unknowing who Huhu is. He sends in an attack, but she stands on top of it, treating it like a toy. She explains that she was limited to only a fraction of her strength when using the heals, so he should start trying harder. He becomes more pressured, wondering what to do until Huhu gives up. She tells him she is tired of playing around, so she will be advancing while sparing him. Jar sees this as a chance to take advantage of her, so he begins talking up a storm. He claims that he wasn't trying this whole time and that it's better for her to give up now. He then tells her to beg to get past him, thinking Hoo won't swallow her pride that easily. To his surprise, however, Hoo doesn't falter until he demands her get on her knees. Instead of following suit, she moves him onto the ground, enraging him to the point of no going back. He attacks her from behind, but Hoo easily overpowers him, placing the heels into his head. Chulan, on the other hand, decides to try and grab Fu's number before leaving. This angers her, so she punches him into the ground, forcing him to fall down a floor and onto Hoo's battle. Now with the two standing before each other, Chulan realizes how much of a mistake he made by leaving her. He had thought she was just using him, but to his surprise, Hoo truly cares about his well-being. This makes Chulan fold, so he tells her he will follow her back as long as she doesn't treat him like a slave, referring to last time. With this, he goes to tell the head of Tengakai that he is planning on following Hoo. This enrages him, having sourced Chulan up all weekend only for him to abandon him. Chulan doesn't falter, however. Standing before him, he informs him he will be following Hoo. This makes him happy to see someone stand up to him, so he accepts his request. Upon hearing this, Jar becomes enraged, so he sends in a cheeky attack to Hoo's back, drawing a ton of blood. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out the winner of the last video's top comment, MRX661. Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Let's get back to the recap. Following this attack, he asks them to recognize his strength, but the Tengakai leader has other plans. He grabs Jar's throat and knocks him out, informing him he doesn't belong in his clan. As this happens, Hoo faints from the lack of blood, making Chunal wonder what to do. The clan leader then emerges and checks her soul to try and heal her. After inspecting it, he calls upon his son to heal her, explaining to Chunal that he can heal her. He summons a doctor to take control of his body, allowing him to properly assess the body. He notices that there are multiple fatal injuries, but suddenly the UPS managers arrive. They tell Chunal they will take care of it all, explaining to the clan leader to stop. After saying this, they refuse, thinking Hoo will die, but they are persistent. They act as if she is immortal, picking her up and taking her home like some merchandise. Chunal follows suit and enters a sketchy van alongside the two managers. Upon entering, he wonders how this could happen to him, refusing one girl only to have the other get injured. He blames himself for the situation, but the managers assure him that she will be alright with their company's treatment. This only enrages Chunal, not knowing that Hoo has an ability to recover by herself. He tells her to listen to her heartbeat, allowing him to learn that she is flowing ki through her body while unconscious, thus healing herself. This makes him even more confused, wanting to know the true identity of Hoo. They continue treating him like an outsider, however, telling him over time he will gradually learn more about their company. This only angers Chulan more, revealing just how arrogant he really is. He tells them that he wants answers now, so the manager finally reveals information about Hoo. He explains that she has no memories of her past life, so she is under contract to work with them in exchange for information about her past. Following this, the Tenshi's disciple meets with some old geezer until he has better plans. He tells the old guy to wait for his return, urging him to let him go without a struggle. After he leaves, the old man goes to meet with Natsuka to get his playtime in. Before he enters the room, the old man's son enters the room and embraces Natsuka, revealing they have both been with the same woman. This enrages the old guy, so he starts beating his son up, claiming that Natsuka belongs to him. He then apologizes for making such a display in front of Natsuka, bowing down to her. He asks her to give him an order showing just how down bad he is for her. She then asks his son to train hard in order to become a candidate for the Tenshi. He is unsure of how he can become so strong, but a nerdy guy named Chin emerges, informing the son he can help him become stronger. He tells Natsuka to come entertain him, which causes the other two down bad men to get angry. Upon seeing this, she offers to service them later to hopefully get some alone time. This works, and she walks around with Chin, talking about their future together. Chin tells her that as a villain, he has been working on his plans to ruin everyone's day. They eventually arrive to a dark room where they find a couple other thugs standing around. In the center is the geek kid, who announces he has finally absorbed all of Chunal's grandfather's power. To display this, he harnesses some ki around his forehead, asking the others to try it out as well. He then hands the ki ball to one of the others, and allows them to learn all of Chunal's Gramps' memories. This makes him unsatisfied, so the geeky boy shows him something else. He tells the others of his evil plans, which causes the others to erupt in confidence. They tell each other the UPS company will surely suffer a great loss from this. Meanwhile, Hoo is seen still lying in bed, revealing she is still recovering. Then suddenly the UPS managers walk in to tell Chunal to go to school. He tries to skip, but they persist, forcing Chunal to stop being a loser and go to school. Once he leaves, the managers talk amongst each other, telling the other they don't want Chunal to learn their secret. As they talk, Hoo gets up, showing that she is perfectly fine now that Chunal has left. The manager then asks her why she didn't avoid the attack, knowing that she could have easily evaded it. She explains that Chunal asked her not to move from her spot, so she followed his orders literally. Chunal, on the other hand, walks 10 miles to school until he decides to skip, not wanting to go anyways. He walks into a forest, and standing behind him is the geek, Ro from Zensei. He tells Chunal that he came alone and that he just wants to exchange some information. He starts by apologizing, telling Chunal that he was the one who stole his grandfather's body. He explains that he achieved his goal thanks to this, and he is willing to give up his grandfather's last memories. This excites Chunal, so he grabs the key ball and quickly puts it onto his forehead to see the memory. Upon doing so, he suddenly changes his mindset and starts sprinting back to his estate. Once he arrives, however, there is nobody there, making Chunal reveal Hoo-Hoo's true nature. 20 years ago, when his grandfather died, Hoo-Hoo was there with him, looking the exact same. Following this, he receives a call from the managers, who ask him to meet them in a hospital. Here they show their father, who is bedridden, asking him to help. Chunal ignores their question and asks more about Hoo-Hoo, wondering if she was the one who killed his grandfather. Without hesitation, Hoo-Hoo tells him that she is the one who killed his grandfather. This instantly makes him become unstable, so he starts releasing his Ki, thus waking up the manager's father. He tells Chunal that he will tell him everything if he would just calm down for now. He reintroduces Hoo-Hoo as AMU, telling Chunal that he first met her back in 1944, more than 70 years ago. During the summer of 1944, Hoo-Hoo was lying around in a cave until she realized something was up. She explored the area and eventually stumbled upon 2 young men who wondered what she wanted. She doesn't speak back, so he starts playing around with her, telling his friend they should do what they want with her. Before he is able to, however, some others emerge and start beating up on the thugs. They then guide Hoo-Hoo to their house where she first met the manager's father, Sho, when he was still just a child. With Hoo-Hoo never speaking, they wonder what she is thinking, considering they found her out in the forest. The man's wife then urges them to take her to town to try and return her the next day. Even after doing this, they learn nothing about Hoo-Hoo, so they decided to take her in. At first, a lot of the villagers were scared to approach her, but over time, Hoo-Hoo began to fit in. Despite her brain-dead looks, she learned to speak in only 3 months. Following this, she learned how to write and was able to tell the others her name. Ever since that day, Sho's mum took great care in nurturing Hoo-Hoo. They taught her how to do everything a normal person would do until they eventually asked her about her past. This reverted her back to the state of a child, screaming and crying while holding her head. Because of this, Sho rushed off to find a doctor, but once arriving, they found her harnessing Kai. They are unsure of what is going on, but the doctor informs them that she must be an outsider because of her use of ki. Later that night, Sho asked more about what happened from Hoo-Hoo, wanting to learn ki himself. She tells him that she is unsure how she learned it, but when she thinks about it enough, she is able to harness it. She then checks Sho and tells him that he also has this power. Following this, they started training together, but Sho still couldn't bring out his power. Right before he gave up, Hoo-Hoo noticed that he needed to relax more, so she guided him to bring out his powers. Thanks to her help, he was able to calm down and start to harness the ki within his body. Ever since that day, he continued practicing his ki, hiding the fact he could use it from his entire village. One day, Hoo-Hoo overheard someone singing, so she asked how to do it. This allowed her to learn how to sing, bringing a lively mood to the entire village. 5 years pass since her first arrival, and Sho is starting to look older. He talks with his dad about marrying Hoo-Hoo, expressing that he doesn't want her to be married off to someone random. He tells his family that he wants her to be a part of the family, hoping his parents would let him marry her, but they take it another direction. His mum offers to adopt her to officially make them a part of the family. This seems like a good idea to them, so they pitch it to Hoo-Hoo, asking her if she likes their family. Hoo-Hoo tries to think about whether she does, but with her lack of emotions, she is unsure. She goes to bed that night still thinking about it, eventually making her head hurt tons. She struggles to calm down, but thanks to the mum's singing, she is able to relax and get a good night's sleep. This peace would be short-lived, however, when a group of filthy thugs came to rob the village. They targeted Sho, telling him he needs to give up everything, including his lunch. As they get robbed, Hoo-Hoo suddenly emerges, causing the thugs to get excited by her beauty. They inspect her a bit, and after confirming her looks, they take her away, but the father protests. He treats her as his own daughter, begging to let her go and eventually giving up his own life. Sho tries to counter, but he gets put down as well, leaving Hoo unsure what to do. Once she sees the mom's cries, she feels an emotion, not wanting to see her family be sad. This makes her realize that she does like them, but her happiness is short-lived when the mom continues crying. Hoo then asks what to do, so the mom demands that she kill the thugs that are harming them. Once she hears this, she gets to work, killing the first thug with using only a slice of her hand. This caused the rest of the thugs to rush her, but like the first one, they were all killing with ease. As this happens, Sho wakes up to see the bloodbath, realizing Hoo is more terrifying than they imagined. The villagers as well notice this and start calling her a monster, demanding she leave them alone. Despite her saving all of their lives, she leaves without protesting, causing Sho to chase after. His mum then tells Hoo that even if they demand her to leave the village, she will always be family to them. She offers a place for her if she ever needs and wishes her the best as she embarks on a new journey. Before she left, she made one promise to the mom, promising not to ever kill a human again. The mum then fled the village alongside Sho, showing that she is scared of her as well. Since that day, Sho would never see Hoo again until 1993, almost 50 years later. Because of this, she had to learn how to survive on her own, so she would go around mugging pandas. As she would rob pandas, she would gradually remember her family, realizing she needed to continue looking for them. Fast forward to 1994, and Sho is an old man who means business. One day, his colleague presents him with a photo of Hoo being arrested by the police. He explains that this girl is a dangerous girl around, telling him she escaped shortly after being arrested. Since that day, Sho spent everything he had worked towards to try and learn everything he could about Hoo. Hoo, on the other hand, would live her life robbing stores instead of pandas now. To flex off her skills, she would get enough for little kids as well, but eat it all in front of them. After this happened, the vendor called the police only to find her stealing from his stall yet again. Like last time, she got away, but because she was chased, she got lost. Here she encounters more thugs who knock her food over for getting too close. Because of this, she ends up being kidnapped and stored in a cell. She would be shown to various people, asking for a large sum in exchange for her body. Not only was she a beauty, but she wielded immense power, striking fear into the man who showcased her. The man who previously protested buying her now changes his mind to see what she is all about. He inspects her, but after seeing how filthy she is, he left, telling her he knows someone who is looking for her. After this happened, Sho learned of it all and ended up meeting Hoo yet again. He apologizes to her, telling her he is the reason she has gone through this all. Hoo doesn't seem to care about herself, falling into Sho's arms. This makes Sho remember everything that happened, so he gets engaged and decides to kill the people who harmed her. Following this, she was introduced to the company, where they gradually become more prominent in the world of outsiders, leading back to the present. Now, with Sho on the verge of death, he is unable to fulfill his promise to her of finding her family. The closest he got was being able to show Hoo to some other key users. He suspected they would know about her past, but once they arrived, every single one of them was dead. This made him question the current balance of power, wondering who could possibly kill so many. Then at the end of the path of bodies, he found Chunal's grandfather facing off against another strong opponent. By using his famous Raihu, he was able to win in the fight, but ended up suffering damage himself. He noticed Hoo and Shu's presence immediately, considering them an enemy. To his surprise, however, he recognized Hoo, telling her she looks the same after all these decades. This made Hoo curious, so she asked him about her life and who she is. Instead of telling her of her past, he asked her to protect his grandson Chulan from dangers. This raises the question of how these two are related, so the grandpa told them that if she meets with Chulan, she will learn her past. He then tells them he was the one who started the Kushin War, a great war that caused many deaths. He asks her to protect his grandson for this reason, knowing that one day people will come after him. He explains by doing this the curse placed on her will be lifted, and she will learn who she is. Once Hoo learned this, she vowed to him to protect Chulan. Now with this information, Hoo offered to kill him, knowing he will die soon anyways. Gramps accepted her request, him being in pain currently anyways. He then transfers some power to Hoo and urges her to hurry and protect Chulan. Years later, Hoo finds Chulan walking around, so she decides to start stalking him. After doing this for 12 years, the Zensei emerged, causing her to reveal her presence. This makes Chulan unsure of what to believe, learning so much information so suddenly. Sho tells him that he knows it's a lot, so he doesn't have to accept it all, but he wishes he would stay by Hoo's side. He explains that in 1944, the Tenshi erased all records of Kai, making it impossible to find the information out by investigating. He then takes his final breath, telling Hoo that his only regret in love is neglecting her for so long. Once she hears this, she begins singing, placing her hand on his face and putting him to eternal rest. 2 days after this happens, and Chulan seems to be affected the most. He visits the grave lastly and pays his respects. Here he announces that he will become stronger in order to protect Hoo, so that he can fulfill Shou's promise. In order to do so, he plans on participating in the Raten Taishu, a tournament amongst the best key users to decide the next Tenshi.